Today, I'm taking you through a deep dive of 21 different features that will completely change the way you interact with Gemini Notebook. In today's world, everyone is obsessed with that second brain feeling, especially when it comes to AI-assisted software. There's Notion, Obsidian, there was Notebook LM, but that is now Gemini Notebook. Specifically, with Gemini Notebook, over 30 million people use this software every single month. Most of them have only touched 2 features. In fact, every single thing you're seeing in this video, I completed within an hour. You're not behind because it's hard, you're behind because no one has ever walked you through the full thing. Every tutorial covers the same 3 basic steps. Upload a PDF, ask a question, ask for more information. That's it. But I want to change the narrative. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you all these different features for one notebook, one capability, and 1 hour of my time. Every feature will get 30 to 60 seconds of me talking about it. We're gonna start broad and then get into the real nitty-gritty for some power use cases. One quick thing before we start, because this is something all of you bring up in pretty much every single one of my videos. Data security. And I'm happy to say, everything I found online says Gemini Notebook does not train its models or train Google at all based on what you put inside the notebook. So it stays specifically for you and no one's learning from it. Let's dive into the first of the 4 acts I'm gonna be walking you through today. Sources. Everything inside Gemini Notebook starts with what you feed it, so it's crucial you get that right. The first feature is creating a new notebook and how exactly it ingests your sources. New notebook, drag in your sources, and you're done. I dropped in 5 PDFs, articles about the newest AI launches, and all of them were ingested in under 10 seconds. There's no configuration step, there's no downloading 10 different plugins or organizing every single type of dashboard. That's it. Setup is 10 seconds and it's not even the hard part. Now, feature number 2 is what exactly counts as a source, because it's not just PDFs. Google Docs, slides, a website link. Basically, anything that can be sourced publicly on the internet becomes a source that you could put inside of your Gemini Notebook. And you're able to ask questions about all of them regardless of what type of source they are. Obviously, the coolest one to me was the YouTube URL. You drop in the video link and now you can interrogate about what exactly was said inside that video. So basically, if it has words in it, it's a source. Now, here's the ceiling since nobody tends to tell you it until after you've already hit it. On a free plan, you're limited to 50 sources inside of one notebook and 100 notebooks in all of Gemini Notebook. For most people, that's not a real constraint. But if you're someone who's doing deep research across 100 different documents, you may find the need to upgrade later on. I like to mitigate this by planning my notebooks around topics, not just sources. Now, feature number 4 is curated notebooks, and I think these were honestly really cool. Google has already built Gemini Notebooks for you with sources ingested, the studio features, which we're going to cover later, already built out. So you can just go in there, play around, and ask about some of the coolest topics. I opened one focused on trends in health, wealth, and happiness. 20 plus sources were already ingested that I could ask any sort of question about in the entire world. It has the cited reasoning, it has the sources attached, and there's 0 setup required to get it done. Now, there's 2 uses for this. One, if you're interested in the topic it has, that's already built out research that you can just explore. 2, and this is the more important one, it shows you what a fully maxed out notebook truly looks like, so you know what you need to make yours perform at that same level that they're using in the examples. Feature 5 is grounded chat and citations. This is the core of the whole product. This is the promise that Gemini Notebook built their company on. When you ask a question, it answers from your sources and it tells you exactly where with citations. If you click the number, it lands on the literal source and line where it found that in. I asked which model each article claims performs the best. The answer came back with citations on every single claim. And when one source said Fable 5 was the best option of them all, it had the exact date that this was stated on and the article that said it. And honestly, the key takeaway here is that you're able to easily check and audit its work. That's the difference between Gemini Notebook and any other chatbot. Now, feature 6 is actually a concept, not a button. Because Gemini Notebook is great at grounding itself and refuses to give you information that it does not have. I think that's the entire product. A general chatbot sees those gaps and closes them with questions. But Gemini Notebook doesn't do that. I asked it to tell me about Opus 5's benchmark scores, and it just told me it didn't have any information for me. Then it prompted me by asking if I wanted it to dive deeper on the website to find sources for me. And in my opinion, that's what makes Gemini Notebook so incredibly trustworthy. It's only answering between the sources you chose, and then when you wanted to take the extra step, that's where feature number 7 comes in. Stepping outside of your sources. It pulled me back 5 and they were all specifically tagged and cited for where they were found, what they were talking about, and what they claimed. And from there, I was able to easily click the ingest button right underneath to bring those into my source library, but only after I verified them myself. So just simply asking a question that the AI was unable to answer grew my entire library. That's just insane in my opinion. We have 2 more features before we dive into the Gemini Notebook Studio, and I honestly think that's going to blow your mind away. But feature number 8 is honestly the lamest, but the most in this video. Custom instructions. You could tell Gemini Notebook how it should read. So before I put any custom instructions in, I asked about model pricing. The answers were what you would expect. Huge numbers. Things like, how many tokens do you get per $10? Stuff like that. Then I set a custom instruction telling it that I'm a solo creator who's focused on making videos in the productivity space, and I just want to have those for API calls. And then I gave it the same exact question, but got a completely different answer. It stopped talking about tokens and large-scale cost and started talking about ecosystems so I could identify tools that overlapped and worked together more effectively. It broke the entire AI market into 3 buckets: best reasoning, best performance for price, and best budget option. The craziest part is I didn't even ask it to build out these categories. It just went ahead and did it to allow me to make my decision-making process easier. So the takeaway is tell it who you are and what you're doing, and your answers will change drastically. Feature number 9 is deep research. This one's the heaviest thing in the entire tool, and the timestamps tell the story themselves. I started the deep research at 3:50 p.m. and it finished at 3:57. In 7 minutes, it found, validated, and brought me 51 different sources. It also covered over 25 AI models that I had never brought up to it once. Now I went ahead and randomly back-checked 5 of these articles to check the numbers, and they were all correct. For me, that is almost days of research if I'm doing 2 or 3 hours a day researching different models, done within 7 minutes, completely on autopilot. So if you do any type of research, even if it's for small level decision making, like what products should I put inside of my hair, I think leveraging Gemini Notebook's deep research could be insane to get a lot of research done in very little time and taking almost no effort from yourself. Okay, that's the input side completely done. You've probably seen more of the source panel than 95% of people who touch Gemini Notebook. But now I'm going to show you how we turn this whole thing up a notch with Gemini Studio. First, the audio overview. 2 hosts conversationally talking through all of your sources. I asked mine to be brief and I gave it custom instructions so it knew exactly what to cover. It sounded a little bit like AI, to be honest with you, but I think it was human enough that I could listen to it without feeling creeped out. What's really important is how it's able to cite the different sources that you laid out for it and follow your custom instructions. Now I'm happy to say that mine passed with flying colors. It was framed around exactly what I told Gemini Notebook I cared about. It was all relevant and it was all cited. I think that's just an absolute game changer if you're someone who finds themselves too busy to read or you get too bored reading through a bunch of sources. For me, it's really helped me to digest a lot of different information very fast. Now, what's really cool is there's also an interactive audio feature depending on the type of audio overview you choose to do. So while the host is talking, you can cut in, ask a question, and if it has availability to answer that, it literally will live. Feature 12 is that it has multilingual audio. So let's say you're trying to develop your own Spanish. You could send it a bunch of articles in English that you understand and then have it just read them back to you in beginner level Spanish if you're someone who's new to learning Spanish. It's not something I find myself using, but if you're someone who lives in a family that speaks a bunch of languages, it may end up being very useful for you. But feature 13 I found super useful and I will definitely be going back to use it more. Video overview. Your sources become a narrated video with animations. Mine ran for 57 seconds. Voiceover and visuals covering the exact things I needed covered, and it followed my custom prompt to a T. That's short, and short is exactly what I wanted for this. I wanted a short form brief, not a documentary. So it's all of your research, watchable in under a minute. Feature 14 is short form, but vertical. So I'm gonna throw that up on the screen. You can literally have these documentaries or video overviews you're requesting be briefs and have full out short form animation. So maybe if you find yourself scrolling a bunch, you can make 30 of these and scroll these for an hour. Or if you're someone that actually wants to use the visuals, they are downloadable as well. Now, if you want the watermark gone, you do have to upgrade from the free tier of Gemini Notebook. Feature 15 is the cinematic video overview. Now, I didn't generate it for this exact video because I was on a little bit of a time crunch, but I've seen it from other creators and you should totally look it up if you want to know more. It's basically the same video overview I just talked about and showed you, but built into a long form, horizontal, cinematic style video. But I am saying you should test it yourself before you just trust it because I didn't have the time to test it today. Feature 16 is cool and useful for me because a lot of the work I do at university involves slides. Gemini Notebook can literally build slides from your exact sources. But you need to use the same rule as everything else inside of the studio. Give it clear directions, give it a role, give it who you are and what you want to accomplish. If you don't hit those basics of a prompt, it's not going to give you the right output that you're looking for. It's a deck from your materials. It takes about 5 minutes to generate, and it's actually editable by yourself. Okay, moving on to feature 17, infographics. This one honestly shocked me because I couldn't think of a use case I had for infographics. I clicked on the sketch note visual style and it matched almost one-to-one exactly with what I asked for. It also only covered the relevant information I wanted about the different costs and different models that were inside of my 5 original sources. Moving on to number 18, and this is going to be great if you're someone who does a lot of work with numbers. Data tables. This is the one thing I'm probably going to use the most, and it has one hidden feature that makes this tool even better. In this example, I asked for a table on every model, its pricing, its benchmarks, so I get a better understanding of what I'm paying for, what I should be getting, and how long I should be using it for. Every row was traceable, every citation was placed at the last column. If it didn't find anything for a specific ask I had, like a benchmark for this tiny AI company, it just said no sources found. So again, it's not making up gaps with guesses. It's only citing from your sources. Now, the hidden feature I was talking about is the fact that you can export directly to Excel to either calculate everything it gave you, help you make decisions, or add more information in. Most tools do not do that. And bang, we're all done with the studio. Now we're going to be moving on to a few tricks that really upgrade your learning capabilities with Gemini Notebook. Feature 19 is the mind map. This is the most underrated tool in this entire app. Hands down, I will die on that hill. Most people see a mind map and just think it's going to be a diagram like we drew when we were in middle school and elementary school. It's just a picture of my research. I can screenshot it and move on. But Gemini Notebook does not do that. It takes it to the next level, and that's why this is so exciting to me. The mind map breaks out far and moves with motion graphics based on your clicks, and it breaks out much further than you would expect. You can keep going down into granular detail until you find, I guess, the end of the mind map horizontally. And then let's say it's talking about one specific thing you want to learn more about. Well, instead of having to ask the notebook inside of the chat to look into it more, you simply click the circle or kind of the cylinder with the word inside of it, and it takes it and puts it inside the chat for you and automatically asks a prompt asking Gemini Notebook to explain it for you in more detail. So if you're using this to study, if you're using this to research, regardless of what you're using this for, the mind map is going to allow you to ask questions about the topics you actually care about and get it done right away. I think that's an absolute game changer. And the reason I just talked with no script or any break right there is because it's so exciting to me, genuinely. Now, number 20 and number 21 kind of go hand in hand. They're flashcards and quizzes. They're generated from your sources, not a generic deck of flashcards, and the questions are obviously built directly from your sources into the quiz. Basically, what both these tools do is kind of what you would expect. They take the sources that you could take all the time to go through and read and turn it into something you can actually test and practice. So the flashcards will help you retain the different information that are the key beats, and the quiz is going to help you find out what didn't retain. Now, I know I said there was 21 features, but I got a bonus 2 for you if you stayed to the end of the video here. One is the Gemini app sync. Your notebooks live inside of the Gemini app and they sync both ways. You can build on your desktop and then listen on your phone. It's the same exact app with 2 different doors into the house. Then the 23rd feature is the secure cloud computer. It's the strangest thing they've added, and I want to explain it even though I can't try it on my tier. Every notebook now gets a secure cloud computer that is actually able to write code directly into your Gemini notebook. And this code can be ran against your exact sources. Now, it doesn't just summarize your data, it computes against it live inside of your own Gemini notebook. And apparently, it's rolling out to users on the web on pro-level accounts, but that's just something I found online, so I don't know if I believe it 100%. I couldn't test it, so I'm not going to tell you exactly how well this works. But that's the direction. Eventually, this stops being a research tool and starts being an all-in-one data analysis, coding, research tool on a level we haven't really seen before. Now, if you enjoyed the 23 features I shared with you in this video and you made it all the way to the end, first off, I want to say thank you. Second, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And third, if you want AI packs for prompts and my own AI lie detector test that helps you decide what tools are worth your money and what tools aren't worth your money, that's going to be all in the top pinned comment. So make sure you check that out.